Hello, everybody. Omni here. This time with probably the most anticipated trailer that was expected to come out of Comic Con this year, and that is for DC's Aquaman. And that's a character that, for a long time, at least in the public eye, the general public eye, has needed a bit of a refresh for quite a while. Because despite some turns in the comics in the past 20, 30 years that mainstream media or mainstream audiences aren't going to be aware of. But there's been so many stories that have uh, preceded that and in the comics and all that stuff that have been really awesome. So there's a whole lot of story and direction available that fits in line with this version of Aquaman that Jason Momoa is bringing us. Because this type of Aquaman isn't um, a deviation from how he is in some of the more recent comic lines. Um, Minus he doesn't have a hook hand, but the look isn't that far off. But what Jason Momoa brings to it is like a whole new life, and just you can tell just in the scenes that we had, even in Justice League, that he loved being in it, and he loved taking on that role and putting his own spin on it. And you can tell when the actors are really diving into the character that they're given. Like, you can tell that Ezra Miller really enjoyed being there. You can tell Jason Momoa loved being there. Sadly, Affleck did not seem like he wanted to be there. And the sad thing about that, in my opinion, he's probably the best Batman that we've got. Like, his, as far as the physicality and the duality between Bruce and being the Bat. Unfortunately, he suffered to the script and a director that didn't know what to do with the character, despite everything he tried to do with it. I don't know. But DC seems to be course correcting a lot here. I think Justice League would have been a lot better if it had one solid director, because they needed to commit to either the Snyder version or the Whedon version that they went with, and where they went somewhere in between, there was so many conflicting tones. There was a lot of enjoyable moments, I'm not going to lie, but I feel like just reading about what Snyder actually wanted to do it, oddly enough, what he had planned for it sounded way better than what we ended up with, where they tried to shift gears there. But I think in the long run, it'll probably pan out a lot better, at least as a whole, for the DC cinematic universe, or the DC expanded universe, whatever they're calling it, the DCEU. And this is one of those new world type movies where we get to see something other than a cityscape being blown up and destroyed. We get to see more of Arthur Curry's home of Atlantis, and hopefully we can get some better imagery than we got in Justice League, because it looked like it was just a couple of like underwater ruins that, I don't know. I want to see a civilization. That's what Atlantis is and had always been, is this large, technologically advanced undersea civilization that has thrived and hidden from the world above. And I'm excited for this. James Wan taking the helm of this movie was something that I think gave me a lot of my faith and hope back that this won't fail. He just hasn't let me down yet, and I am looking forward to not being let down by another DC movie, because despite that, with their past track record, I do have my expectations on reserve, just in case this is just another disappointment. So let's go ahead and let's see what DC's Aquaman brings to the table with their first full-length trailer. Let's check it out. And hopefully it does not disappoint.
My father was a lighthouse keeper.
Nice. So we're getting that origin confirmed.
But life is a way of bringing people together.
Nicole Kidman looks awesome.
Check it out. Arthur is talking
Oh,
to the fish.
don't bully him next to an aquarium. What are you doing? Yeah.
They made me what I am.
You know, I know a lot of people are gonna like gripe about the special effects there being
Permission to come aboard.
a little cartoony, but I think that's what it needs to. If they can like match that vibe or tone, which I feel like, dude, Orm Ocean Master looks awesome.
Your rightful place is king.
Trust me.
Was that him? Was that Aquaman?
Best thinking when you're not thinking at all.
Her hair is way too red when she's not underwater.
I want to be that bad.
Gosh, Jason Momoa brings like a smarm to this that is definitely needed. This is what I'm talking about. This is Atlantis. DC was in desperate need of something with this like vibrant new open world.
I'm no leader.
And not just these like broken down underwater temples like we saw in Justice League.
Came to save my own.
Atlantis is a society, a civilization that is advanced, bright.
That is exactly
Is that the trench? It's the trench.
That was awesome.
Her hair, man. If there's one...
And I'm bringing
Dude, Black Manta looks awesome. A Mosasaurus? Dude, I cannot wait for this movie. Okay. I know it's easy to get excited about a trailer. I know it's easy to be let down when you see a movie after a great trailer, but it looks so good. Now, I think like what I was trying to say earlier too was I know people are probably going to try to take some stabs at some of the CGI in it cuz it's going to be CGI heavy, but how it didn't, especially the aquarium moment where the sharks and the other fish are like swarming around Kid Arthur, and it looks a little cheesy and cartoony, but I feel like with the tone they're going for, I think it just it fits. Like I don't have a problem with it because like I think it fits the overall art aesthetic that they're going for, at least. Like when you have CGI that doesn't match the look of the movie, then like I feel like it'll stand out and it looks bad. Like if there's not a blend of it, but like with the colors and the visuals that they're going for, I feel like it at least matches the art style and the visual style that they're going for. So it's not that distracting to me. I feel like it fits in just fine, and it looks like there's plenty of humor and a lot of action. I didn't expect to see like a Lord of the Rings-esque battle underwater. I'm so excited for this. Like, you have no idea. I'm still scared. I have such high hopes for this, especially after this trailer. Please don't fail. Please don't let me down, DC. I need you to survive. Oh my god. I can't wait. Um so far this is probably the best trailer I've seen at Comic-Con this year, and probably only because it had a lot to live up to and there was a lot potentially riding on this, at least because I've always been a DC fanboy at heart. Because I was born and raised on DC. Um, I didn't really get into Marvel until later in my formative years, probably. Because my first, aside from some here and there Spider-Man comics that I had when I was growing up, I don't think my first true dive into Marvel was until, I think I can say this for a lot of people that grew up around the time that I did, that their first dive into Marvel, or their first taste of it, was through the X-Men animated series during the 90s, and and the same with the Spider-Man cartoon, because those, for a long time until these movies started coming out, since Marvel started churning things out, like, I didn't have anything else past that. I didn't really know anything about Captain America. I didn't know anything about Iron Man. I knew about the Hulk, and I knew a little about Thor, but aside from a couple of PlayStation games and Marvel vs. Capcom, that was about the extent of my Captain America and Iron Man knowledge. But Marvel has been nailing this and nailing this and nailing this, like, one after the other. I love all of those movies. And DC, they used to have this. Like, this used to be their world. Like, Batman, starting back as far as Adam West, it's been like, everybody knows the monoliths of the DC Justice League, and like their heavy hitters and stuff like that. And like, when you think of comic books, like, that's some of the first people you go to: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. And like, they've had some hits. Like, Christopher Reeve's Superman was like widely well accepted. Tim Burton's Batman was the first revitalizing moment, I think, for DC. And then, just coming off the heels of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight series, and then diving into Man of Steel, and then trying to make it the same tone, trying to take Superman. It's just like, this is like what happens when you have studio or executives making decisions about these characters. Because there's like, after Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, it kicked off this huge trend of turning every hero or every superhero movie into some gritty, dark version of what they were. And then some of these characters you just can't do that with. It's just not how they function. Otherwise, you're kind of destroying the essence of that character. And like Superman, Man of Steel, he's supposed to be a beacon of hope, justice, kindness. He's supposed to be something to aspire to, and there was just none of that in Man of Steel. Like, you have people preaching it throughout the movie, but we never see it in him. Like, he never displays it. And then you have Batman versus Superman, where he's trying to fix his public image, and he doesn't even look like he cares half the time. Like, I love the casting of Henry Cavill as Superman. Like, he looks the part. He's great. I know he cares about it so much. And it's not his fault. It's just the script and the direction that they went in with the character. So much so that like he's talked about in interviews where I think he's making excuses um, to make it fit in line with what our expectation of Superman is supposed to be, despite the contradicting evidence that was provided in the movies themselves. And they did course correct with that. It took killing Superman and resurrecting him from the dead to turn him into the beacon of light that and the cheery, lighthearted Superman that he should have been anyway. So I don't know. They didn't know. They didn't commit one way or the other with that, and I'm glad to see this turn into this. This is the direction these movies need to go. They don't have to be just like Marvel. DC has dark heroes. Batman can he can be dark. It's just you can't make every superhero in DC Batman. Like that was probably the thing that stood out the most to me in Batman versus Superman was there wasn't a fundamental difference between their characters in that movie. Like Superman in that movie was a hypocrite. Like he was like, you stop your vigilantism, like you're overly brutal, blah blah blah. And meanwhile Superman goes off and like doesn't restrain himself and throws terrorists through concrete walls. They're still people. Like he's doing the same crap that Batman's doing and preaching it, and it's just like it didn't mesh. They both were brooding, they were both miserable characters, and that's fine for Batman, but you can't have two opposing forces that are essentially just the same character with different powers. But anyway, I'm sorry I went off on a rant about all of that. That's not what this is about. This is about Aquaman, and I love this trailer. I love the casting. I love the director. I am hoping to God that they don't mess this up. Because I just don't think they can take any more failures. And I don't want them to, because like I said, I grew up on this stuff, and I do want to see them succeed, but I'm not going to be blinded by that nostalgia from that love and that bias. I have not and will not let this blind me to their failures and their flaws. So when this comes out and I talk about it, it'll be my sincere take on it. And I just can't wait. I really just want this to work. Anyway, I'm just saying the same things over and over again. Thank you all for stopping by. We got a couple of other trailers to check out. I'm not sure what all is on the roster for tomorrow as far as Comic-Con scheduling. But we will check it out if they drop anything else tomorrow. But I will catch you all in the next one. Later.